we chose a very sensitive topic about the importance of every little thing that I do. Because a lot of people tend to think that if they do some or a little bit of the mitzvot, or they just do something, then it's worthless. And a lot of people that I meet in many of my lectures, they tell me, listen, I'm not really observant. So what's the point? I don't really observe Shabbat. So why should I bother with one thing in Shabbat or even other things? And people, for whatever reason, have the impression that it's all or nothing. And there are many different types of different questions in regards to what is my effort worth? Is my mitzvah really worth something? I mean, we come and we hear that we have to do mitzvot, we have to keep Shabbat, we have to eat kosher, we have to do so many different things. If I go through the entire Torah, it seems first of all almost impossible to do. But more than that, like really, what is my act worth? Forget about right now the spiritual act, and that if I want to look at it in a very mystical way, it's the will of the master of the universe and all these fancy things. I'm going to talk bottom line, how is it to do with me? Because in some of the acts that are called mitzvot, one person will say, listen, okay, I would do that regardless if there's a Torah or not. The reality is that a lot of the mitzvot that we do, I would still do them even the Torah would not be given. We just learned last week there was a parasha called Mishpatim. All the parasha is talking about all sorts of acts between me and another person, and that's the parasha that we read the week after we got the Torah. And most of the commentators say, why do we get this parasha, this weekly portion, a week after we got the Torah? Teach us about very big things and important mitzvot, and you're telling me all these laws that if I did a damage and now my neighbor, sorry, so to say, is suffering from that I have to compensate him, and all these little laws between me and another person. So the answer is yes, because a lot of people think that the Torah is fancy schmancy, and the basic things has nothing to do with the Torah. But we take from that even the basic things, we're doing it not because it's common sense. It's not that I don't steal, don't cheat because it's common sense to me not to steal. I do that because it's still a commandment from the Master of the Universe. And even though for us it seems like common sense, it's because the Master of the Universe designed it in my mind that it will be common sense. So for me, it makes sense not to kill somebody. Some people, for them, it's fine to kill people. It's actually part of their culture. We have to kill people. That's how we operate. So the reality is that even when something makes sense to me, it's because God planted it, or so to say, designed it in my mind that it will make sense or not make sense. So a lot of people, they separate and say, whatever makes sense, I'll do. Whatever doesn't make sense has nothing to do with me. The question is really that people ask themselves, and I believe that this is a question that makes people become much closer to God or less closer to God. And there's no raf how religious you are. People think that there's some type of a raf. I'm 90% religious, I'm 80% religious. I wouldn't even want to use the word religious, because religious is not, the Torah is the Torah, religion is the religion. And the Torah has nothing to do with it. I follow the Torah. The Torah comes from the word in Hebrew hora'ah, to teach. I go and buy now a new DVD player or a new phone or whatever it is. I right away open the box, and what do I find there? A manual. A manual that tells me, do not put your phone in the microwave. And do not put your phone into the toilets. And if you throw the phone against the wall, it will break. Now, if I don't follow the manual and something gets damaged and I'll go back to the store, they'll tell me, I'm very sorry, the warranty does not cover it because you did not follow the manufacturer's instructions. So the exact same way, God created the world, put us in this world, and says, okay, I know it's a little bit of a difficult world. Here's a book. Here's a manual. Read the manual. Follow the manual. You'll be fine. And in the manual, it says everything. Now, if it says to me in the manual, don't kill, it's not because it just makes sense to me not to kill. There are tribes in Africa that it's fine for them to kill. They eat each other. So it says in the Torah, don't kill, because in the rules, in the manual of the world, you're not allowed to do that. So some things make sense to me, so it's very easy to actually follow. But then the Torah comes and tells me, don't eat this animal. Don't eat pork. Why? So a person in his mind says, I don't see any reason why. It's an animal. What's the difference between a pork or chicken? Or a lamb? Why is a sheep kosher and a pork not? Or a camel? Now, the Torah comes and gives us like just a flash or just one point that I want to take from it. If the Torah would come and describe every little thing why, then the Torah would be an encyclopedia. Nobody would read it. Hashem has very good marketing skills, and he says, if I'm going to sell my products, I need to sell it, I need to come with a very good marketing system. Now, if I'm going to come and tell them, okay, this is the Torah, it's going to take you 500 years to read it, who would read it? So he just threw some concepts in it, and then he says, okay, now you want to learn why? Okay, then now you go to the library where you'll find 100,000 books, now you'll learn all the reasons. But the reality is that everything has a reason. Some of the reasons we can understand, some of the reasons, even if we're going to try a lot, we're not going to understand. Some of the mitzvot, even Shlomo HaMelech, the wisest man in history, never understood. Like the red heifer. I don't understand. Or a mikveh. Why, when I go into a bath of water, I become pure? Why would I become impure to start with? Why would I become pure? Because if I touch something or if I do something. So, first of all, and most important, and this is not the lecture why we do everything, but the reality is there is a spiritual reason for everything. And since we mentioned an animal that we're not allowed to eat, then the teachings of Kabbalah explain to us that every live thing, including the things that are not alive, has a godly spark in it. Has some type of an energy, a godly energy. Now one person will call it an energy, we call it nefesh. This is the terminology that we use. Nefesh it's called nefesh chaya, a live spiritual energy. Everything has a nefesh. Even an animal has a nefesh, and even an inanimate has a nefesh. Even rocks have a nefesh. This is the godly power that enlivens them. We just don't see movement. We see movements in humans, and we see movements in animals and in vegetations, but we don't see something moving in a rock or in something that is inanimate. But the reality is that it has to be some type of a godly power that enlivens it. The teachings of Kabbalah explains that the more the level of the creation seems low in this world, it's because it's coming from a much higher place in the spiritual world. Meaning that the life force in a rock comes from a much higher spiritual world, that when it manifests into this world, the spiritual power in the rock actually sees the master of the universe, so it's still, it's frozen, it doesn't move. So really, when you're looking at everything in this world, everything is upside down. So we think that a rock is just a piece of rock, but really it has a spiritual power in it that sees God, and it's standing still. It can't move. It's frozen. If you would see God now, you would also stay like this, you would not move, if we would even be able to sustain such a revelation. And then the more it goes away from a godly revelation, then we don't see God, so we're able to move. If I would see God around me all day long, I wouldn't do 99% of what I do. Because imagine now, a king will stand next to you. You would not pick your nose next to the king, or pick your, I don't know, pull food out of your teeth, or whatever things that you do, or scratch here. You stand like that, you're like, oh, frozen. It's the king. This is a physical king. Imagine if you would stand in front of the spiritual king. So, even something that is inanimate has this energy that is called a nefesh, and it has some type of a godly spark that enlivens it. The teachings of Kabbalah explain to us that the same way in this world, if you're going to take now out of the socket 2 wires, and they're both pluses, you put them together, nothing's going to happen. But if you take the minus, and you put 2 minuses together, you're going to get a short circuit, you're going to get an explosion. Same thing with us. If you put 2 godly sparks together that they don't match each other, there's going to be a short circuit. There's going to be some type of a reaction. So the Torah comes and tells me, don't eat this animal. It's not because I want to segregate you, or I want to make your diet really annoying, or that I want you now to be more aware that everything you put in your mouth. When our sages sat down and they wrote the oral Torah, they didn't sit like, in a little room, be like, okay, let's see how we're annoying them tonight. They saw in their spiritual level what could be the danger. So I know it's danger to put my finger into the socket, and I have a baby in my house, so I'll buy this plastic thing and I put it in the socket. So I make some type of an action to prevent my child that has no awareness of the danger, so I help him. So the Torah comes and tells me, don't eat this animal. If you eat this animal, you're going to have a spiritual short circuit in your system. It's going to cause you some type of a reaction. You might not see it, but it will cause. It might cause you to be depressed, or it might cause you to be physically sick, or it might cause you to be tired, or angry, or whatever reaction it will do. We're not going to start pointing now on each thing that I do, what reaction that is out. But the reality is that I suffer from a lot of reactions. Spiritual problems, emotional problems, physical problems, and I don't attribute it to the right thing. I think, I'm depressed because my boss is annoying me. Or I have a bad relationship in my house, so I'm suffering from depression or sadness, or I have anxieties because I don't know. No, it's coming from a spiritual place. It's coming from a deficiency in my soul, or some type of a short circuit that I touch something that I'm not supposed to touch, and it's affecting me. I just don't make the connection that if I eat an unkosher animal, that it will affect my mood, or it will affect my emotional behavior. And I'm just giving ideas. It's not that this is what's going to happen. I'm just trying to come to a conclusion that everything that the Torah comes to tell me, it comes to teach me. One might say, it comes to warn you. I would say it comes to educate you, not to warn you. Warn sounds very negative. It comes to educate you. Don't do this, don't do that, do this, do that. So, the question is, what does my little act do? Does my little act really make a difference? The master of the universe, that has millions and millions and billions of angels and souls and worlds that he created, he really cares about my little act? That I do some act in this world, and that's what the master of the universe wants? He wants me to take a strap of leather and tie it on my hand? That's what interests him? So it's very hard in our human mind to understand that really what I do here makes a difference. So it's kind of broken down into a few categories. The first category is, does really my little act make a difference to God? First of all, because this is what's going on in my mind on a daily basis. You're about to do something, and you might be lucky and you have a conscience or a little voice in your head that tells you, don't do that. Why right now? Doesn't matter. It just tells you don't do that. And a very quick question goes up in your mind, does God really care about that? You wake up in the morning, the rabbi calls you and tells you, listen, we're 9 men here. We need 1 more. Can you come? And you're like under the cover, and you're like, I don't want to come. I'm comfortable here. And your good voice tells you, listen, you're helping them. It's a good thing to pray now. But your bad side will tell you, does God really care if I wake up now and put a strap of leather on my hand and some type of cloth on my head? Does that what really interests the master of the universe? So that's one thing. Does really my act affect and is the interest of God? That's one thing. The second thing is that I don't do the majority. Let's say I'm already in a different level and I'm saying I believe the Torah, I want to follow the Torah, I accept the Torah. If a person is in a level that says I don't even believe that there's a God, and I don't believe that there's a soul, and I don't believe in anything, that's a whole different thing. We're looking now at a person that already acknowledges there's a creator to the world, the Torah is real, it's not a historical book, and everything else is real. Now I'm standing already in a different position by saying, okay, now does my little acts make a difference? What happens if the Torah has a lot of rules. What if I do only 10% of it? Does that 10% make a difference? Does that cover for the 90% that I don't do? And a lot of people have a very wrong way of looking at the Torah, because unfortunately, the game when we were kids, there was a game, I don't know how you call it in America, in Hebrew we call it the broken phone. Is that I tell you something, telephone. How you call it? Telephone? Okay, so I tell you something, you tell her, and it starts moving around. By the time it comes back to me, it's a totally different story. So unfortunately, in many times in the Torah, we're experiencing this broken phone. That somebody heard from somebody that heard somebody that heard, and says, oh, I heard this and that. But really, there's no base to that. There's no source to that. Baruch Hashem, we get in our system hundreds and thousands of emails every day. And I get emails of people telling me, but I heard from this rabbi that this is allowed to do. And I always have one reaction. Show me the source, and I'll look at the source, and then I'll tell you if it's true or not. We have a source. And if it's not backed up by any source, then it's not true. We don't go by superstitious, and we don't go by rumors, and we have a source. Whether we go all the way into the written Torah, or whether it's the oral Torah, the Talmud, the Mishnah, the Shulchan Aruch, there has to be a source. And sometimes there is a source, but you just didn't understand what it says. Somebody once asked me a question, it says here in the Talmud, in this tractate. And when I read it, I was like, you didn't understand what it says. You read it wrong. You understood something, you understood what you wanted to understand. So it's very easy to have this broken phone system when it comes to the Torah, and the reality is that most people don't like hearing the truth, because the truth is not what I like. If I love eating cookies, and my doctor tells me, listen, if you're going to eat a lot of these cookies, you're going to have high cholesterol and high blood pressure, and it's not good for you. That is the truth. I don't like hearing this truth, because you're taking away my cookies right now. And I don't want you to take my cookies, because I like my cookies. So I don't like your truth. And this is one example out of many. The reality is that we don't like the truth. We like what we like. And the majority of people, what they do is they make the truth what they like. Instead of liking the truth, saying, okay, that's the truth. I have either an option of liking it or not liking it. Rather, what we do is I make the truth what I like. So I convince myself in many different ways that what I like, that is the truth. You know, last week we read in the weekly parasha that there's a commandment that we're not allowed to take bribery. Now, this commandment goes on a judge. I mean, the judge is the one who's warned not to take bribery, because then he does the wrong verdict. So, a lot of people ask, okay, how many people are judges? 1 out of 100,000? 1 out of 1,000,000? How many judges are there? And it's talking, of course, of a dayan, a Jewish judge in a court, in a Jewish court, that you're not allowed to take bribery. It's shochad. So an average person says, why is the Torah telling me about it? I don't take bribery. Now, if it says something in the Torah, it means that it has to do with everybody. Even though in the general explanation it's talking about a judge, but if the Torah says you're not allowed to take bribery, it's talking to me. And where do I take bribery? Because in my system there are two entities that operate. One of them is my intellect. That's my mochin, my wisdom. That's what I understand. I see things out there and I understand it. But then I have another entity that is called my attributes, my midot, my emotions. It's two separate things. They're operating at a total different level. Now, if you notice in our body, the structure of the body is a very funny structure. I have this balloon, and in the balloon sits the brain, and the brain knows and understands, it's very intelligent. And then I have this lumpy body, and in this lumpy body is my heart and all my emotions and my attributes. But the connection between the balloon and the body is like a little stick, a neck. And the path is very narrow. And that means that usually what's here, it doesn't go down here so easily. And the example in the physical level, not at the spiritual level, in the physical level, you can come now to any smoker in the world and tell him, do you know that smoking is bad for you? He'll tell you, yes, I know. Do you know that smoking causes cancer? Yeah. So why do you smoke? Well, I'm addicted. I love smoking. So you understand in your mind that it's not good for you, but you're willing to still do it. That's because the information in the intellect cannot penetrate so easily into the attributes. And this is one example out of many. You know that 90% of the products that you buy in the supermarkets are garbage. It's poison. It's not real products. full of food coloring and sugar and MSG and chemicals and everything that's bad for you, preservatives. That's the sad truth, that 90% of what you buy is junk. And somebody might come and tell you, that this little thing has a lot of food coloring in it, it causes cancer. Yeah, why do you buy it? It's tasty. I like it. It's very easy for me to put my dinner into a metal box and within 3 minutes I have dinner. Yeah, but it has radiation. No, it's easy for me. So the point is, what's here in the intellect, I understand. I understand that it's very dangerous to drive 160 miles an hour. But I'm in a rush, and I think that if I'm going to be late to the meeting, I'm going to lose the deal. So there's a very big separation between my intellect and to my attributes. So the thing is that even in the Torah, a lot of the things, they don't make sense to me, or they're not represented the right way. And that's one of the problems in our generation. Maybe I can't say for other generations, but I know in our generation the Torah is mispresented. And people say, if you don't do this, this is going to happen. If you don't do that, that's going to happen. All sorts of these theories that there's no base to them. And really, nobody can know. Just yesterday we had a lecture and somebody was asking about, if there are Mekubalim in our generation, people they don't only learn Kabbalah, but they look at you and they know everything about you and all these. I said, no, I don't think there's anybody in our generation that does that. And he said, yeah, but that person, I heard about that person and this person. So I told him, if the person is a real Mekubal, you will not know about it. The rule is that if they know, they don't talk. And if they talk, they don't know. So if he's a real Mekubal, you're not going to know about it. He's not going to come to you, you're not going to come to him. And if it costs you $1,000, he's not a Mekubal. So you want to pay $1,000 for him to do woo, so go ahead, do that. But the reality is that a lot of things get mispresented. And I gave the example that not too long ago, unfortunately, I had to go to a Shiva. After Shem Erachem, when somebody dies, we sit Shiva. So I wasn't invited. I had to go to pay my respects. And there was a young individual that died from a car accident. And of course, everybody was mourning, was very, very sad. And then this individual walks in, and he thought he's going to come and inspire everybody with his words of Torah. And then he started telling the family, you know why he died? Because you desecrate Shabbat. Who gives you such an authority to say such a thing? What are you, the vice president of God? That you come and say this happened because of that? And let's say it did. Who gives you the authority to say such a thing? Let's say hypothetically that's true. But where do you come up with that? So the point is that in our generation, a lot of people distort how the Torah it needs to be presented. The bad effect out of it is that people believe the nonsense instead of believing the truth. And people come up with all sorts of inventions and superstitious, and if I do this and if I do that. The reality is that the Torah, unfortunately, doesn't have a good reputation because it wasn't represented the right way for many, many generations. The reality is that nobody can come and represent God and says, I know what Hashem wants, and I know what He means, and I know what your act means. The reality is that we don't know. A lot of people ask me the same question. Somebody asked me that question not too long ago. I was in a lecture about my personal near-death experience, and people think that I'm like this with the Master of the Universe because I went to a rendezvous there. And he tells me, I only have one question for you. Give me the 5 best mitzvot and the 5 worst sins. I told him, why 5 and not 6? Like, why 5? No, just give me the 5 best mitzvot. I'll do them and the 5 worst. So I told him, there's no value to the mitzvah. Because for me, maybe it's a very big challenge to put tefillin. And for you, it's not a challenge to put tefillin. So when I put tefillin, the volume, so to say, of my mitzvah, it's not the same like yours. If you do it naturally, and you like doing it, and you have no inclination, no yetzer hara to fight you, And you just, the whole life, you're the first one in shul. But for me to get out of bed, you need to hire a bulldozer. And to me to put tefillin on, we need negotiations. And finally, when I put the tefillin on, the weight, the value of the mitzvah cannot be compared to your value. Some people, they know one word of lie can come out of their mouth. Another person, every word that comes out of his mouth is a lie. For this guy to one time to zip his mouth is like conquering a mountain. So we don't know the value of a mitzvah. There's no such a thing in saying, this is mitzvah number 1, this is number 2, this is number 3, this is number 4. There's no such a thing. Because in each and every one of us has to deal with a certain group of mitzvot. The reason for that is the Arizal, Rabbi Luria, who's known to be one of the most famous authors in the field of Kabbalah, he explains in one of his books that is called Sha'ar HaGilgulim, The Gates of Reincarnation, that we all have to come down to this world and get reincarnated many times. And the reason we have to get reincarnated is not because most people think that I did something 500 years ago and now I'm punished. Most people, if they already believe in reincarnations, they tell you, you know why you're incarnated? Yeah, probably 200 years ago I did something bad, now I'm coming here to fix it, I'm punished. So God is not a third grade teacher that punishes you. You know, in third grade you talk, the teacher will punish you and throw you out of the room. God doesn't punish. God says, listen, you're going to do a certain action and there's going to be a reaction. That's how it works. You're going to throw now a stone at this window, the window's going to break. You did a foolish action, now there's going to be a reaction. Now we have to fix the window. So we do certain actions and that right away draws on us a certain reaction. There's no punishment. There's no such a thing that Hashem stands with a stick and starts punishing people. And I know a lot of people argue with that because they say, yeah, but one of the teachings of Maimonides, of Rambam, is that there is the concept of reward and a punishment. But it's not the idea that if I did something good, I'm going to get a lollipop, and if I did something bad, I'm going to get smacked on my hand. Not to sidetrack from our topic because of that, but the Arizal explains that I have to come back here in reincarnations because I have to complete 613 mitzvot in 3 levels of thought, speech, and action. That's it. Until I'll finish doing it, I have to come back here. And we know, based on many books of Kabbalah, that 99.99999% of the souls, they all come back here in reincarnations. We know of 2 individuals that were able to finish all 613 mitzvot in one shot. And there's no reincarnations of them. And that's King David and the prophet Daniel. These are the 2 individuals that we know, based on books of Kabbalah, that there isn't a reincarnation of David HaMelech, King David, or the prophet of Daniel. All the rest, there are different books. There's a certain tzaddik, he's known as the Rama from Pano, and he has books of reincarnation, and he says there, this individual is a reincarnation of that, this is individual is a reincarnation of that, and there are different types of books that they say, this individual, now we're close to Purim, in one of his books he says that Haman is a reincarnation of Esav, and Mordechai is a reincarnation of Yaakov, and he points out. The point is that when I come back here to get reincarnated, I have to do a quota of mitzvot. Now, that's a very interesting book. We actually started to have a school in Israel, and we started going through the book. We now just finished 3 months just going through the first chapter out of 40. And it's all recorded. You should go and see it. It's a very, very interesting...
What is it?
Excuse me?
What's the name again?
The book is The Gates of Reincarnation, Sha'ar HaGilgulim.
Oh, that's
And it's a lot of people think it's just talking about reincarnations. It's talking about spiritual, deep matters of the structure of my soul and the cause and effect. It's an unbelievable book. And I highly recommend you go to my website and we just finished now the first. It has 40 chapters. It's not even called chapters. It's called Hakdama, like an introduction. And it took us 3 months to go down through one introduction. And he explains there that when I come back, if I corrected already something in a previous life, I already did a certain quota, I don't have to do it again. I mean, I have to go through it. I still have to do all 613 mitzvot. I'm still obligated to follow everything. But if I already finished some of it in a previous life, in this life will be easy for me. So for me, it's easy to give charity and to put tefillin on and to do whatever. Why? Because I already achieved it. I don't have a challenge anymore. The beautiful proof that you see here is with converts and people who become religious, Baal Teshuvas. You see a person that became religious in their 30, and within 2 years they catch up what takes another person 30 years to gain. Or a convert. You see somebody converts in the age of 40, within 3-4 years they catch up. Why? Because everything that they already caught up, they achieved in the previous reincarnations. It was very easy for them. But then they come to what they need to work on, then they come into a challenge. Why? Because that's the mitzvot that I have to work on. So it doesn't exempt me from everything else, but there's a certain group that I have to focus on. And it's easily recognized because it was hard for me. If it's extremely hard for me to give charity, that's probably what I have to do. If it's extremely hard for me to come and pray in a minyan, that's probably where I have to fill in. And each person has certain difficulties in certain areas. One person, it's the easiest thing for them to be honest. Another person all day long lies. Another person cannot stop gossiping. The other person will never say anything bad about anybody. Doesn't mean it's not a competition, one is better than the other. It just means that we are all like a factory. So we all have departments. You have to do this, you have to do that, you have to do this, that's it. There's no competition. So when comes somebody and says, what is the best mitzvah? There's no such a thing. Because in my position right now, I have to focus on this, this, and this. And at the same time, remember, I'm not exempt from everything else. It's not that because I did it already and I achieved it, I'm exempt from that. And in most cases, it will be pretty obvious what do I need to concentrate on. And usually it's where it's going to be the hardest for me, where I'm going to have the most opposition of doing it. Or that I'm going to have the most argument against that thing. I will do A, B, and C. When it comes to that, I don't want to do. I know many people, they tell me I eat kosher, I observe the Shabbat, I do this and that. Mikveh, no, I'm not going into a dirty pool. I'm not doing that. Nothing wrong with me. I'm not impure. So each person has something that if they're locked on it, that means that's where you have to put a lot of attention. So from here we want to try to analyze, does it really matter what the little thing that I do? Because a lot of people say, listen, I'm not really observant. So what's the point? What's the point of doing it? I mean, if I'm observant, fine, you do the whole thing. And the point is that there's no connection to each other. It doesn't matter how observant you are, there's no wrath of observance. And the point is that it has nothing to do how observant you are to the quality of what you do. And I always give the same example. When I became religious, I was 28. It was very, very difficult for me to become religious. In my mind, in the balloon, I understood. I knew I had to become observant. But physically, how do you do it? So I knew I have to keep Shabbat. It was almost impossible, but how do I keep Shabbat? And in my story, I always say the same example, how somebody 15 years before that told me you're not allowed to light fire on Shabbat, you can't extinguish fire on Shabbat, so if you smoke on Shabbat, I was a very heavy smoker, then at least don't turn out your cigarette. So, at the time, he told me, so you have 50 less sins, which at the time didn't make sense. I thought the person is a lunatic. But 15 years later, when I had to keep Shabbat, I was like, I found a loophole. I'm going to smoke, I'm going to finish the cigarette, and I'm going to put the cigarette in the ashtray. Now, in my mind, I was Shomer Shabbat. And somebody would tell me, you keep Shabbat? Yeah, of course I observe Shabbat. Yeah, but I just saw you drive. Driving is fine. I don't turn out cigarettes. So in my mind, that was my keeping of Shabbat. Now one might look at it and laugh and be like, that's not observing Shabbat. But on the other hand, that is observing. Because 50, 60 times a day, I had in my conscience not to turn out the cigarette. It's not the quantity, it's the quality. So somebody might look at me and be like, no, you're not observing Shabbat. And in my limited mind, I was like, I am. Because I'm concentrating all day long for the moment not to do this one little act. Of course, I always add in my story, maybe some of you heard it, but I will repeat it, that later on somebody came and told me, listen, you're not really allowed to watch TV on Shabbat. Every time you flip a channel, that you're desecrating Shabbat. So in my limited mind, I was like, okay, no problem. I used to put HBO and the whole Shabbat. Same channel. I'm keeping Shabbat. So I would make up all these little things that in my mind, I'm like, of course I keep Shabbat. I'm not flipping channels. And you know what challenge it was for me not to flip a channel? Because I'm not used to it. I wasn't grown up. I didn't grow up into it. For me to not flip a channel, it would be a lot of effort. And in my level, I was like, I'm the most religious man in the world. I don't flip channels. And of course, in the story, there was one time that a friend came and told me, listen, you have to do Kiddush on Shabbat. And I was like, what's Kiddush? He's like, you have to drink wine. I was like, oh, that I like. But I took the mitzvah so seriously that I used to drive 60 miles. I lived in the southern suburb of Chicago. I used to drive 60 miles, to be exact 59 miles, on the odometer, to the kosher store to buy kosher wine. It was like a big deal for me. And when I walked into the store, I had butterflies in my stomach. I was like, oh, I'm so religious. I'm buying wine with a certification. And in my mind, I thought I'm the most religious Jew in the world. And when I came to Shabbat, I got so excited. I would make such a beautiful meal. I would buy the best meat, the best of everything. I had a beautiful suit just for the Shabbat meal. And I made the table look so beautiful. And I got so excited. And the joke was, now it sounds like a joke, but I would do all this effort. And after the meal, I would finish the meal and go and watch a movie. And in my mind, I'm like, I'm so religious. So one time a friend comes to visit me and I tell him, it's Shabbat. We got to do Kiddush. He's like, what? I told him, just sit down, drink the wine, say amen. So, we did the whole thing, the beautiful food, the whole show. And then after that, we finished the meal. We drank the wine, we had the bread, everything. And after that, we go to a club. So 4 o'clock in the morning, we're coming back from the club. And my friend tells me, I have to tell you, I feel bad telling you that, but you're making a joke over the whole thing. I tell him, why are you saying that? He's like, listen, if you're observant, then you have to stay home and observe the Shabbat. But you cannot do Kiddush and after that go to a club. It's kind of making a joke out of everything. And I told him, I understand what you're saying. But let me tell you really what's going on in the heavens right now. If you would go now to a playground and you see an 8-year-old boy jumping up and down the ladders and doing all these tricks, and nobody gets excited because all the little boys do the same thing. But if you see now an 11-month-old baby take a step, guarantee within 3 minutes that there are about 500 pictures on Facebook. Every step that baby made, there's 5 angles. Everybody, he walked! Huh? Why? Because it's the first step. And you know how hard it is for that baby to take that step? So I told him, I'm this baby. And you know what's going on right now in the heavens when I go to make Kiddush? You know what happens right now? God calls all his angels. You're talking about billions of angels here, are standing in line. And he tells them, come. Look at my little boy. Look what he did. He drove 60 miles to buy kosher wine. He could have bought the wine in the corner store. And look at that beautiful table, how he set the table. And look at the suit, and look at that beautiful cup. He spent hundreds of dollars on that cup. He could have done it with a plastic cup. And I put so much effort into one little act, and I said, this is what God is looking at. He's not looking at everything else that later on I go and I drive and I go to a club. It doesn't matter, because in my level, I'm a baby. There's no expectations right now. And I said that this little effort that I do, I guarantee to you, and it's not a competition, but I guarantee to you, it's much more powerful than thousands of other people that observe the Shabbat from beginning to end. In the value that God looks at it. So the way God looks at things is not how we look at things. We look at things kind of black and white. And a lot of people tell me, listen, I'm not really observant. I don't really follow the rules of Shabbat. So what's the point of Jews doing Kiddush? Or just going to synagogue for one prayer? And the answer is very simple. What one has to do with the other? One has nothing to do with the other. Because the value of my act cannot be measured. And nobody can come and tell me your act is worthless. Who gave you the authority to tell me that my act is worthless? You know, for example, when I was not religious, I had, like everyone, all sorts of problems. Yeah, I used to lie a lot in business. I used to cheat in business. I used to do all sorts of things that when you think about it, okay, doesn't seem so religious. But many things that are not the rituals, let's put it this way. People associate with mitzvot with the rituals, with tefillin and tzitzit and candles, and most of the mitzvot has nothing to do with the rituals. We just read 2 weeks ago the 10 Commandments. It's not talking about rituals. It's talking about don't steal, don't commit adultery, don't murder, don't lie, don't say false testimony, honor your parents. Most of the 10 Commandments it doesn't say in the 10 Commandments to put tefillin on. So the reality is that the majority of the mitzvot, there's not those rituals that are annoying us. It's kind of the basic things that most people, they don't need a big black yarmulke or a long beard to be doing them. So the majority of the things are to do with everybody. And when I became religious, it was a big challenge for me. Not to put tefillin on or to go to the synagogue. That was a different challenge. You know what it is not to lie in business? When you lie all day long in business and that's how you make money, pitam not to lie, suddenly not to lie. It's a big deal. And I know a lot of people don't like hearing it. Lying in business, no, I'm honest. No, a lot of people lie in their business. A lot of people cheat in their business or whatever it is. I mean, I know people don't like hearing certain things when you tell them you lie, you cheat, you slander, you curse. The reality is that we do a lot of things that are not so kosher. Now, in my case, I was like, I can't stop in one shot. And I once explained to somebody, let's say you're a pathological liar. All the time you lie. In business, in relationships, all the time you lie. Try to make an effort. Today you lie 100 times a day. Today just lie 99 times. One time, hold yourself. And then tomorrow do 98 times. And the next day do 97 times. And he's like, it's what's the point? You lie. I said, it is the point. Because one time you didn't. And I told him, if you want to kind of picture in your mind how it looks, imagine now in Shamayim, you ever been to like the tracks with the horses? Everybody's there with their bets, and a bunch of animals are running on a muddy place, and people are going crazy. And if their horse is winning, they go crazy, and if the horse loses, they want to kill somebody. They're putting bets. Number four. I said, that's what's going on in Shamayim. Sitting about 5 billion angels, they're all looking at you. And they're like, what's the bet? Oh, today we're going to challenge him. We're going to make him see if he's going to lie today or not. 50% of them says, he's failing. I'm putting all my money on that. 50% says, no, he's going to make it. He's going to make it. And you're walking in the street, you don't understand that there's like cameras from Shamayim. Angels are looking down. There's bets going on right now in the heavens. He's going to lie. He's not going to lie. He's going to lie. He's going to lie. You're going to say arguments. And then comes the moment. They're looking. Everybody's looking. Millions of angels are looking. And some little voice tells you in your mind, don't lie to that person right now. And it's the hardest thing for you to do. You can barely, and you hold yourself. And it's the hardest challenge for you, not to just this time, not to lie. And it's not good to lie. And it's going to cause a problem. And you hold yourself. You know what's going on in Shamayim? In the heavens? 4th of July. They're opening champagne bottles, firecrackers. How do you call them? The fireworks. He didn't lie! He didn't lie! And in my mind, I'm like, okay, what's the big deal? I just closed my mouth today. And in the heavens, we don't understand I'm being cheered now. Another person would look at it, okay, big deal. So you zipped it for 3 seconds. Big deal. It is a big deal. Because that's the challenge that I had today. And my challenge is dissected like with this magnifying glass. And for me, it's like, okay, big deal. I do so many things here and there that are not so great. And this little act makes a difference. This little one time I don't think something not so nice about somebody. I do so many bad things. The reality is that it's very hard for us to be honest with ourselves. And let's, for 1 second, chas v'shalom, but for 1 second, move the Torah away. No Torah, for 1 second. We have some type of a cabinet going on in mind. There's a lot of senates and governors going on there with a lot of opinions. And really, we have a jungle in our mind. The reality is that if we would be able to develop some type of a device that you can point in somebody and read their mind, you would see that most people in the world are crazy. What's going on in their mind? I mean, we have a jungle of thoughts in our mind. There's a certain righteous rabbi, very, very special rabbi. He's known as the Rebbe from Piaseczna. He was a very big rabbi at the time of the Holocaust in Poland. And unfortunately, he was murdered in the death camps. But he was a brilliant, brilliant rabbi. He was known to be a great, great righteous man. And in the Holocaust, in the camps, he wrote a lot of his teachings. And with great merit, the teachings were found and they were compiled into books. And he has one book, it's this thin, a little book, but the thought behind it is genius. And he's basically explaining that we do have a jungle of thoughts in our mind. And really the only thing that makes me separate or different between a crazy person is that the crazy person does what he thinks. And I don't. I mean, I have a lot of thoughts, but I actually don't do it. That's what separates me from a person who's a lunatic. But the reality is that I have a jungle of thoughts in my mind. What I would want to say to you, what I want to do to you, what I want to say to you, and how many times you wish, I wish I could tell her that now. But you don't, because you don't want to cause a problem, or you don't have the guts to say that, or whatever it is, but you want to, you would want, if you would tell her what you want to really say. But it's stuck up here. The reality is that most of these thoughts are not our thoughts. They're coming from a pure place of impurity. The Baal Shem Tov explains that in the spiritual realms, there are two chambers, a chamber of purity and a chamber of impurity. And whatever I channel myself to, that's where I pull this energy from. If I channel myself to chamber of purity, then my thoughts will be pure, my behavior, my speech will be pure. And if I channel myself to the chamber of impurity, then my thoughts will be impure, and my speech will be impure, and so forth. So really, most of the thoughts that are in our mind are not our thoughts. That in this particular book, he says that it's a certain type of meditation, that you clear your thoughts, that you move away all these bad thoughts, and then you stay with your thoughts. And then you see that 90% of the junk that's in your mind is not even yours. It's coming from all sorts of places of impurity. But the reality is that we have a jungle in our mind. And in my mind, I have this good voice and this bad voice. And there's constantly a battle. And sometimes it's just a matter of one little act. Today, my work for today is I have a challenge right now with this individual or with that situation. And how I deal with it, that's what I have to do today. So a lot of people, what they say, listen, I don't think my little acts make a difference. They don't. A lot of people tell me, listen, I'm not really observant, so what's the point? It's all or nothing. And that's what a lot of people think, that my little act doesn't make a difference. Now it goes into a different level when it comes to, let's say I have a certain challenge. And I try once, and I try twice, and I try 3 times, and after 50 times, okay, I keep failing, I'm just going to give up. And they don't understand that the point is not necessarily the actual fact if I was able to conquer my problem, is the fact that I put up a fight. So it's not my success, it's the effort that I put in the time. And some people, they have a certain battle for 20 years with something. They understand, okay, I want to be honest in business. They understand, I want to be nice to my wife, or faithful to my wife, or a good father, or whatever it is. I can give you now 1,000 examples. And again, I told you, move the Torah for 1 second, chas v'shalom, aside. I'm not talking about all the rituals that people don't find so much common sense in them. I'm talking about basic things. That being faithful to the wife or the husband is one of the greatest mitzvot one can do. Because unfortunately, we're not going to tell numbers now, but the majority of the world are not. It's a very severe sin. To chas v'shalom, it's one of the 10 commandments, not to commit adultery. You know that one of the greatest mitzvot to do is to love another person unconditionally. It's called Ahavat Israel. I don't know why it doesn't necessarily mean the Israel, Just love another person, accept another person with no conditions. Doesn't matter where they came from, what's their background, the color of their skin, how they're dressed. Just accept every person equally. So a lot of people think, oh, that's only with strangers. But this mitzvah of Ahavat Israel, if I'm nice to my wife, I'm doing the mitzvah of Ahavat Israel. And how many, families we know that there's not a nice relationship between the spouse, between two. So the challenges that we have is not necessarily with the rituals. It's many different things. And some people, they have a certain challenge. They understand, I want to change. I want to become a better boss or a better employee or whatever it is. And they battling this challenge for a year and 2 years and 3 years. And at some point they want to give up. They're like, I'm not seeming to have success here. And the success or the failure has nothing to do with us. If God wants me to have success, it will be success. If God wants me to fail, it will be a failure. What matters here is my effort. And if I have to battle something for the rest of my life, it's not about if I succeeded or not. It's how much effort I put into it. And what is calculated and what is looked upon is the effort. So, the point I want to take from that is that every second I have an option of doing something good and every option of doing something not good. Every second of my life. And I can do it in my thoughts, I can do it with my speech, I can do it with my action. The teachings of Kabbalah explains that our soul is built from 5 levels. The highest level of our soul is called Yechidah. Comes from the word in Hebrew, Yichud. Yichud is a unity. Some people mistaken, they say it's come from the word Yechid. Yechid is one, a single. There's only one thing that is one, that's the master of the universe. But the level of the soul that is called Yechidah comes from the concept of Yichud, of unbelievable unity. So, she has a question. Maybe I should repeat it. The second level of the soul is called Chaya. Some people call it Tzelem, an aura, the surrounding light that goes around the body. And then the other rest are Neshama, Ruach and Nefesh. But the level that is called Chaya, that in many places you'll find the term for it is Tzelem, as we see in the book of Bereshit, B'Tzelem Elokim Nivra Adam, in the image of God, man was created. This Tzelem is kind of what gives me my shape. The teachings of Kabbalah explains that the Tzelem, this part, is built from thousands of little sparks, or in our terminology, pixels. Now, every day of my life is one spark, which means that if I live till the age of 80, then take 80 years times 365 plus the times of the leap year and put all the days together, the amount you're going to get, that's the amount of sparks my Tzelem had. Which means probably had like 30, 40, 50,000 pixels to it. Every day I have to take one piece, refine it, and send it up. So if I didn't do it one day, then the next day I have two. It's like AT&T, it rolls over. So the next day. And if I didn't do it for 2-3 years, then I have piles of them. That's where challenges start coming. Now, how do I polish it? Believe it or not, with my Torah and with my mitzvot. That's how I refine this little piece. Comes the end of the day, our sages gave us a short prayer to say. It's called Kriyat Shema Lamitah. That's when I wrap it up in nice wrapping and I send it up to the heavens, to its source, with my soul, because my soul leaves my body at night. When I go to sleep, my soul leaves my body. A little piece stays in the body, so it will still be breathing and functioning, but the majority goes up to the heavens for many different reasons. One of them is that exactly like my cell phone, at the end of the day the battery is out, I need to charge it. So I need to charge my soul. Another reason is because I go up there and I write a diary, like a journal. What did I do today? I woke up at 7, I did this, I did that. That after 120 years, when I go up to the heavens, they're going to tell me, this is what you wrote it. You testified against yourself. But one of the reasons is that I take this spark that I polished today and I take it back to its place. If I did everything the right way, I'm going to wake up the next day like a ninja, flying out of the bed, dancing. You know how sometimes you wake up in the morning and you dance? You break dance in the morning, you don't even know why. Why you have a good mood? I don't know. Because you did something spiritually good the night before. And most people, they wake up in the morning like a shmate. You sleep for 12 hours, you don't want to go out of bed. Or people get up depressed, heavy, sad, and all sorts of, this heaviness. Why? Because I didn't finish last day's job. My father has a very big office, has a lot of workers. And he's very, very, I don't know the word, we call it yeki. Strict. Okay, we'll call it strict. If one of the workers leaves the desk dirty, messy, he goes like that. And they come in the morning and there's nothing on the desk. There's rules. The desk is clean. You have your monitor, your keyboard, whatever, no mess on the desk. And if you don't find things on the desk, it's on the floor. He can't stand it. He says, my office, you keep it straight. So same thing, the master of the universe. He says, at the end of the day, you clean your desk. You put everything around. So our sages gave us a special prayer at the end of the day that we read. Most people don't like it because at the end of the day, it's when you're already half asleep. Who wants to say at 12 o'clock at night, a prayer? But the reality is that's when I fix my desk. And if I did it the right way, then my sleep is a very good sleep. And my dreams are good, and I sleep well, and I'm well rested. And when I wake up in the morning, I wake up, I say like a ninja, but you wake up with energy. And more than that, good energy. And most people, they don't wake up like that. They wake up with again, another day. The clock rings, the finger goes like this to the snooze button. So I came down here to refine one pixel, one spark, and then to elevate it. And when I don't do that, it rolls over. That's where I don't understand that my little act sometimes, it's not about how much I do, it's how I do it. How much effort went into the mitzvah? How much thought went into the mitzvah? How much love? How much money? How much attention went into something so small? And we think that I need like a 2-foot long beard and a big black hat to impress God. God says, I'm not impressed by these. I have many of you. I don't need. You're not impressing me with your yarmulke. If you sit and learn 12 hours Torah, you're not impressing me. I have tzaddikim in Shamayim that they know the Torah, I'm saying it backwards. You think you're impressing me because you know a lot of Torah? No, I'm not impressed by that. I'm impressed from the inside how you pay attention to something small and how you pay attention to somebody else. Yes, I'm not chas v'shalom saying in 1 second that we have discounts. The Torah doesn't say you should not steal if you are in the ages of 18 to 24 and it's Saturday. It says don't steal. So if the Torah says don't steal, all of us are not allowed to steal. And you can't come, I hear all sorts of weird things. Not too long ago, somebody told me that they heard from a certain rabbi that it's okay to steal from a non-Jew. I told her, who told you such a thing? He told me, no. I go to a class of some rabbi and he told me it's okay. I'm allowed to steal from a non-Jew. And I told him, I'm very sorry to tell you, I don't know who's this rabbi, but he must be suffering from a very rare disease of stupidity. Stealing is stealing. It doesn't say in the Torah, lo tignov mi Yehudi. It says, lo tignov, don't steal. So he is doing two sins. He's stealing and he's doing chilul Hashem. He's desecrating the name of Hashem. So he tells me, but my customer doesn't know I'm Jewish. Why am I doing chilul Hashem? So I said, because you have a yarmulke on your head. Well, of course he knows he's Jewish. She said, no, I only put a yarmulke when I come to a class. So I said, okay, so you have a mezuzah on your door. He's like, no, the business is done in the client's office. I says, your name is Goldstein. He knows you're Jewish. So now you're a thief and you're a Jew. A thief Jew. So who will come and tell you such a thing? So the sad truth is that a lot of people, they distort and they make up things. And the reality is that no, if the Torah says something, it's for everybody. It doesn't mean that, if I'm through between these ages, I'm exempt. That's a whole different thing. We're not going to talk right now what I'm obligated and not obligated. That everybody does their own account. How much they want to do, what they want to do. This is not a lecture about measuring your level of strictness. It's to understand that it's not what I do, it's how I do it. And in most cases, we think that if I do this, that's going to impress Hashem. And this is not important. And usually it's the other way around. Hashem says, you're not impressing me by now being fanatic and checking something or being... I'm not saying that it's wrong. Look at me, I'm fanatic. That's in itself a proof. But Hashem says, I'm looking at everything around the mitzvah. How much focus you put in it, how much you care to another person, how much love you put into the actual effort, how much fight you did. I know it was hard for you to come and be the 10th guy in the minyan, and you really went out of your way, and you really don't feel like doing it. It's the intention, and it's the thought, and the planning, and the effort. So what I want to take from that is that every little thought is a big thing. I can have 100 times a day a bad thought. Doesn't matter what's the thought right now, a bad thought. One time I say to myself, enough, let me just have 5 minutes of quiet in my head. It's not nice to think about that person like that. It's not nice to talk about that. You know, this time I'm going to help that person. Whatever it is, each one has their own things. But the point to understand from that is that the Yetzer Hara is always going to come and say your efforts are worthless. Your mitzvah is worthless. You pretending. That's just the advice of the Yetzer Hara that comes and tells you Hashem doesn't like your mitzvah, or your mitzvah is nothing. The reality is that what is counted is not the quantity, is the quality. And when I became observant, it was very hard for me to follow everything. But whatever I did already with all my heart. I knew that a lot of things I'm not doing the right way. But I said, if I'm already doing something, let me do it the right way. And I know that God likes my effort. And all of us have this problem in our mind, that we have this argument with ourselves in the mind. Is it the right thing? It's not the right thing. I don't feel like doing it. And we kind of bribe ourselves. That's what I started telling you before. We kind of sidetracked from that. But I told you that we have two entities in our system, the intellect and the attributes. And when the Torah comes and tells me you're not allowed to bribe, yes, it's talking about a judge. But it's talking about the judge that's in me, because I constantly need to judge situations. And you know, my emotions, they constantly bribe my intellect. My intellect will tell me, don't steal from that person right now. Don't do that right now for that situation. But my emotions will come and bribe the judge in my mind and says, no, it's okay. It's okay to steal from him. He's also a thief. It's okay to say slander about that person. She constantly talks bad about me. And we constantly bribe ourselves that what we're doing, it's okay. So what I started saying before, and to emphasize it, is that the reality is that we tend to we tend to create the truth is on what I like. And instead of taking the truth and saying, that's the truth, let me like the truth. I don't like the truth because it's not comfortable for me. In most cases, I don't like the truth because it's not convenient right now. If I want to be real honest with myself. Most people, they make the truth what they like instead of liking the truth. And yes, in most cases, we don't like the truth. But you know what? One of the things that God likes the most is honesty. It says, Hashem emet, v'torato emet. Hashem is truth, and His Torah is truth. One thing that Hashem cannot stand is liars. He cannot stand when you distort things. And He says you can lie to Him, you can lie to her, you can lie to whoever you want. You can't lie to me. I mean, come on, I'm the master of the universe. I know everything. I know your thoughts before you even thought about it. So Hashem doesn't like when you lie. Not when you lie to another person, not when you lie to Him, and mainly when you don't lie to yourself. I mean, we lie to ourselves constantly. And that comes with a promotion of our evil inclination that lies to me, and he tells me, your mitzvah is worthless because you don't have a long beard like the rabbi, and because you're not this and that, or because you weren't born into a religious family, or whatever. The Yetzer Hara will come and manipulate the situation to convince me that the little that I do is little. Instead of telling me, Kol hakavod, the little that you do is actually a lot. The Yetzer Hara will come and tell you it's little, it's worthless. God doesn't care about it. It's not worth it. Don't do it. And that's the reality, that I get discouraged from observing the Torah, either because people around me tell me you're not doing it the right way, or I get all sorts of type of comments from different people. And unfortunately in our day, you will find people that tell you, you're not observant, your skirt is here and not here. So what are you coming with now with a ruler to measure the length of my skirt? That's who's going to measure now the level of how much observant I am? So a lot of people come and tell you, oh, you're not doing it right, so זה לא שווה, it's not worth anything. The point is not to listen to anyone because, we have everything written down in a very organized way. There's a Torah, there's the oral Torah that tells me exactly what I need to do, what I'm allowed to, what I'm not allowed to. And I should not take any advice from anyone who comes and tells me your mitzvah is worth nothing. Because the reality is that my mitzvah is worth a lot. If I do a lot, then I have a lot of mitzvahs that are worth a lot. But sometimes a person can do a lot of mitzvot, but they're done on autopilot, with no attention, with no love, with no intention, with no nothing. So yeah, you perform a lot of wind, but nothing, it's empty inside. And sometimes you can do something that looks so irrelevant, but it came with so much attention and love and intention that Hashem says, oh, that I like. It's almost, I always give the same example. Baruch Hashem, we have 6 kids. And one of my last birthdays, I got a lot of presents. But the present was like a little drawing. Or one of my daughters took a piece of paper and she made a ring out of it and she drew like a design on the ring and stapled it. And probably took her like 40 minutes just to... And I got a lot of presents. The worth of them maybe was not expensive. They made like all these cute things, but they sat there for 3 days. 3 days with so much love and so much preparation. And so, nothing was like a real valuable, so to say, present. But it came from such a deep place of their love and so much attention and so much creativity that I'm like, that's how the Kadosh Baruch Hu is looking at things. Yes, somebody can come and give me now a beautiful iPhone 7. Okay, it's a nice phone. But my 3-year-old gives me like this little string that she tied together, and it said it was connected to a piece of paper that said, I love you. And I was like, okay, that's much more than an iPhone 7. Why? Because it came from her heart. And it came with an intention, and it came honest. With no bribery here, with no like, okay, I'm going to buy you a nice present because when it's my present, my birthday, you buy me a nice present. In less than 2 weeks, we're celebrating one of the most beautiful holidays in our calendar. It's called Purim. And Purim is a very, very special holiday because Purim is basically the story of our life. So you can look at it as a fairy tale. There's a queen, and there's a mean king, and a tyrant, and a hero. But the reality is, first of all, the story actually happened. It's not that it's an invention. It actually happened. But the story of Purim is our life. Because in our life, there's a king, the king of the world, the master of the universe. And there's a tzaddik, there's a Mordechai in my life. There's a righteous person. And there's always the Haman, there's the wicked one. He's inside of me. He's my Amalek, my Haman, that doesn't want me to do anything good. Wants to annihilate me, wants to take me away from holiness and away from Hashem. And then there's a queen. And the queen is me. My neshama is a queen. We are called Knesset Israel. We are the queen, the wife of the Kadosh Baruch Hu. So the story of Purim is in me. That's my life. And in the story of Purim, we have to do 4 mitzvot. We're going to do them in Bezrat Hashem in less than 2 weeks. We have to read the Megillah. We have to give charity. It's called Matanot Levyonim. Then we have to give Mishlochim Manot, which is, the packages with food. And then we have to do a feast, Mishteh. These are the 4 mitzvot. I have 5 beautiful classes about Purim if you want to learn about the mystical explanations of all these mitzvot. But there's one mitzvah there that are very, very special. And this is the mitzvah of what's called Mishloach Manot. Mishloach Manot is that you make a basket, a package full of treats, and you give it to somebody. Now, I don't know the custom here in America, but in Israel, when I grew up, we had the custom that you come to school with your costume and with the Mishloach Manot, and you put it all on the desk, and like a lottery, people come and take away the Mishloach Manot. So I had the worst luck in history with these Mishlochei Manot. I would come with the best Mishloach Manot. I would buy the most expensive chocolates. Everything was the best, and I would walk home with like a bag of pretzels. And I was like, that's what I get? I gave the best chocolates out there, and I'm getting this bag of dried pretzels? Every time I would come home upset and tell my mom, next year I'm not doing a good Mishloach Manot. But the point of the mitzvah is not about what I get. It's what I get, what I give. And the whole point of the mitzvah is that when you come to think of it, okay, tell me to read the Megillah, I understand. To give charity, fine, I understand. To do a feast, you're telling me to give presents to people that I don't even know, and then in return I get nothing? But this mitzvah represents the mitzvah of Ahavat Israel, that I have to accept another person with no conditions and with no expectations of getting it back, anything back. Because in most cases, when I give out something, is with some type of an agenda that I will get something back at some point. Hebrew it's called tovat hana'ah, that I give you something, I don't want to give it to you, but one day I know you're going to help me. Or you know somebody that I need something from. And here the mitzvah is that you give something and you give it the best, don't expect to get anything. And this represents literally the foundation of what Hashem wants from us. He says, don't give something because you're expecting to get something. Don't do a mitzvah because you think that in 120 years you're going to get something in the world above. You will. And don't do a mitzvah. Don't give now a lot of charity because you're in a lawsuit and you think that that's going to stand to you as a merit. Or whatever it is. Give it because it's the right thing to do, without the agenda of getting something back. And you learn from this little mitzvah that really what impresses Hashem is the soul of my act, is the effort. And when I come to do something and my Yetzer Hara is going to tell me, listen, your mitzvah is worthless, or you are not observant, there's no point of doing it, or don't do that because you're not doing it the right way, whatever it is. It's just my Yetzer Hara trying to get me away from my path, trying to tell me you're not doing it the right way, but it's the complete opposite. The agenda of the Yetzer Hara is to not let me grow, because if I feel that I'm failing, then I'm never going to grow, spiritually of course. And if I would get a tap on my back every time I had one clear thought in my mind, or one time I zipped my mouth, then I would be like, oh, it's actually, it's worth it. My action is acknowledged. So what I want to take from tonight is something very, very simple. That every second of my life, like I told you before, that we have these pixels, these sparks in my neshama that every day I have to elevate. Every second in my life I have the opportunity to do something good or to do something not good. I mean, you can say there's something parv in the middle. But my agenda is to understand that every second of the day, anything that I do can be explained or translated in some type of way of what's called Avodat Hashem, serving God. I go to work now for 9 hours, people tell me, I work for 9 hours, there's no mitzvah in there. There is a mitzvah. If you work honest, then you are honest in your job. And then you take 10% of what you made and you give it to charity. That's a mitzvah. And you sustained your family, you sent your kids to school, you fed them, you bought them clothes. It all depends how you look at it. Anything you do, breathing is a mitzvah too. It's eating, everything, the whole thing. The point I want to take from that is that every second of my life I can direct it to something positive or direct it to something negative. And just the fact that in 1 second of the day I direct something from negative to positive, that is the value of what I do. And again, the mitzvot that are rituals are very important. I'm not chas v'shalom saying in any way that I have discounts of doing anything. I have to do everything. If the Torah came and tell me that, then I have to do it. Every person does their own calculations, how much they want to do, why they want to do, why they don't want to do. That's for you to decide. But the little or a lot that I do, or the little or a lot that I prevent from doing, has unbelievable weight that I can't even understand, and I will never understand how much value it has. And if I would have had like a ding dong, that every time that I do something good, it goes like WhatsApp, ding ding, then I would actually value the act. But unfortunately I don't have that. So I'm coming and telling you that every little thing that you do, that even if you think that it's small, that doesn't have weight, it's huge. It's huge in the eyes of the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Because Hashem knows how much hard it is for you to do something. And when you go around the situation, just not to do that, just not to say the wrong word, just not to judge a person the wrong way, or whatever it is, there's not one act that I do that doesn't have a meaning to it. Every little thing that I do, the Torah says, B'chol d'rachecha da'eu. Everything that I do, you have to know that there's a Kadosh Baruch Hu. And Hashem is looking at me all day long. And there's a verse in the Mishnah that it says, Da malemala mimach. Don't know what's above you. It says Ain Ro'ah, there's an eye that sees you. It's called Google Earth. Ozen Shomat, there's microphones everywhere. Kol Ma'asecha B'Sefer Nichtavim, all your acts are written in the book of life, that scary book that is opened on Yom Kippur. So the Mishnah says, know that there's something above you. Everything that you do is written and documented. This is how the Mishnah says, know what's above you. There comes the Alter Rebbe, the Baal HaTanya, the founder of the movement of Chabad, and he says, you're reading the sentence a little bit wrong. You have to read the sentence, Dama lemala mimach, from you. Know that what's above comes from you. Which means that I move my hand like this in this world, I now moved an entire universe in the world above. 1 second I zipped my mouth from saying a lie, or lashon hara, whatever, I changed the entire universe. I affected the entire universe. Meaning that I'm so powerful down here that, in the olden days, the way that they would decide about the Jewish calendar, they weren't lazy like us that buy a calendar. They had a courthouse, a Beit Din, and they would have to send witnesses out, and when 2 witnesses would come and say, I saw the moon, they would be interrogated by the judges, by the rabbis, and after they decided that they're legit, they would say, okay, so we're making Rosh Chodesh today. And that's how they would decide when is Rosh Chodesh. And there's a story in the Midrash that the angels would go to the Kadosh Baruch Hu and say, when is Yom Kippur? So he would answer them, it depends. We have to wait to see what the Beit Din, when they're sanctifying the month. Then we're going to know. We're depending on them down there. So the reality is that if I want to look at it in a much greater scope, everything that I do here, I'm affecting the world above. There's a very interesting concept. You find it a lot in synagogues, that somebody will dedicate something to the elevation of the soul of that person. It's called Leilui Nishmat. So the question is, does my act really help a different soul of my father, my mother, doesn't matter who, to push them up? But my $18 made a difference. The reality, yes, what I do down here, it's affecting everybody above. I always say the same story, that there was once an individual, and he was a very wicked individual, and he unfortunately ended up in hell, in Gehenom. And he's sitting there, and they're turning on the heaters, and it's 6,000 degrees, and he's sweating there, and they're barbecuing him there, and smearing him with the sauces, and they're turning him around, and he's going through hell. After millions of years of being in hell, one angel walks in and tells him, you, get up, you're going out. Really? Yeah. Whoop, they're taking him into heaven. He goes into heaven, the air conditioning is on, start cooling him down, he's like starting to get a shape. They're putting him on a deck chair, a few angels are coming and like waving, starting giving him a pina colada and a platter of fruit, and they're like calming him down, massaging him. He's like, oh wow, this is the life. Oh, where was I the whole time? And after 2 weeks in heaven of spoiling him with meals, and after 2 weeks that he's being spoiled in heaven, the same angel comes and he tells him, you, get up, out. He's like, why? You're going back to hell. Yeah, but what? He couldn't believe it. He's like, listen, when you took me out of hell, I didn't ask questions. But now you let me enjoy heaven for 2 weeks, now you're taking me back to hell, I have to know why. He says, listen, really you are a wicked person, you'll be in hell for the rest of your life. But your son did tshuva, became a Baal tshuva. And last week he donated $50,000 to the shul to buy a Torah. So he says, okay, so he donated this Torah, and we took you out of hell, put you into heaven. So he said, okay, I understand, but why are you taking me back to hell? He says, oh, the check bounced. So our acts down here does affect what's going on up there. This is not an invention. When I donate something to my shul, to the synagogue, to the yeshiva of my child, or whatever it doesn't matter, whatever I donate, and I say this is to the elevation of that person, It makes a big effect. It's not an invention. It's not some a way to get money. People say, oh no, it's just another trick to get more money. It's not a trick. I can do it without money. I can dedicate now this class to a certain soul and says, okay, this class, whatever good deeds are going to come out of this class, a good mitzvah, something, a good thought is dedicated to the merit of that person. The reality, what we want to take from that is that what I do affects the world above. I do good, it will affect the world above good. I do not good, it will affect it. That's why in the Mishnah it says, Dama lemala mimach, know that what's above you is from you. You do something good, you're affecting everything in the world above. And the reality is that what we do down here, it will, in a way that we cannot understand, does affect the world above. And it doesn't take much. Think just how many miles the sun has to move in space in order for 1 millimeter on this world for the shadow to move. I mean, if I'm standing here and the shadow right now is on the ground here, and the sun moves, the shadow will move with me, right? Now imagine the shadow is only moving 1 millimeter on the ground. You know how many millions of kilometers the sun has to move in space because of the distance? So one little act in this world moves something in the heavens millions and millions of kilometers, miles, whatever you go by. The reality is that my small act here is huge in the world above. So for me it looks like, oh, what did I do? I just said something. I just did something. Yeah, well, maybe for you is something so small, but it's huge in the world above. Just the only problem is that here comes the Yetzirah and says, no, you didn't do it right. It's not good. Don't do it anymore. It's worthless. So what I want to take from tonight is something very simple. Is when you walk out of this door, you have to go out with something besides the good refreshments and the treats. The point of when you come to a lecture is to go out with something. If you go out of this door and you don't apply anything in your life, then besides the good refreshments, you wasted your time. The point is to take something out of the door. If you take something out of the door, you gain something. What you want to take out of this door is that every act that you do, every little thing that you do is huge in the eyes of God. And don't let anybody come and tell you you are worthless, or your act is worthless, or your act is nothing. Because nobody represents God. Nobody has the authority to come and tell you what Hashem thinks about you. And the reality is that every little effort that I do, it's not about the result. It's about the effort. It's about the process. It's about everything around it. And so, my kids, we have, Baruch Hashem, we have a school in Tzfat. We open a school for women. For all the women that become observant and they want to learn. They don't have where to learn. A young man goes to yeshiva, a young girl goes to seminary, an older woman, she has nowhere to go. So Baruch Hashem, we had the merit to open such a beautiful school, and we have these big Shabbat meals. So my kids, they like doing all the little decorations and little things. So the older kids, they actually do good things. My daughter bakes real good, but the little ones, you don't want to eat those cakes. Or the bread, my 3-year-old, she helps my wife do the challah, the afrashat challah, but you don't want to eat that bread. I mean, even though it comes on the tray, because it has to be on the table, she's going to get offended. But you don't want to know the history of that little roll. But in her mind, she puts a little bit of, how do you call it here? Play-Doh? Yeah. To add some color. It has to, this white dough, it doesn't look so good. A little bit of Play-Doh. And make a smiley face. I don't know if it falls on the floor, it's totally fine. I'll just pick it up and go like that. So we have these little, these little flags that you put in the margarita. So we have flags. This don't eat. We just tell her guys, don't eat it. Just compliment her that it's very nice. Don't eat it. And if you want to eat it, that's on your own risk. So in her mind, this little 3-year-old girl's mind, she just wants the mitzvah to be beautiful. She doesn't care right now if it's tasty for you or not. She wants the challah to look nice. And so you see little hands like working on... I make mini challahs and they're like this big. It takes you 2 hours to braid them. So, yeah, see, that's the reaction. So cute. So when I do something little thing, Hashem tells me, oh, he's so cute. That's what I want to take. That the Kadosh Baruch Hu sees my little effort And he says, he's so cute. Let me pick him up. That's what I need to understand. People think that God is a tyrant standing in heaven with a stick and hitting everybody because I said something. He sees us like these little fluffy little things that, oh look, he did a mitzvah, he didn't lie today, he's so cute. That's what I have to understand, that Hashem values my thoughts and my emotions. And what really we think is so big and important is nonsense. Whatever seems to us irrelevant and small is the biggest thing ever. And we tend to fantasize, I'm going to do these mitzvot, and now I think Hashem is going to think I'm so holy. Yeah, it's good to do mitzvot. But it's so many different things. Sometimes just give 5 minutes attention to a child. You know what it means? 5 minutes to give a nice compliment to your wife. 5 minutes, a person comes to you on the street and tells you, I need help. Most people turn around their head right away. No, I'm very busy right now. So we tend to look at little things that are irrelevant, and really they are the biggest things. And to take something really valuable out of it, I want to tell you just one short story that comes from the Torah. All our sages, they have a title. The famous one, Avram Avinu, our father. And Moshe, Rabbeinu. And Shmuel, a Navi, David HaMelech. A lot of people got titles. There's a certain individual who got a very special title, and that's Yosef. Yosef HaTzadik, the Tzaddik, the righteous man. Now his story was very unfortunate. He was sold when he was a teenager, and he was thrown into a pit, and then he was sold to a convoy of Arabs that sold him to be a slave, and the whole story. And then he got thrown into jail, and he was in jail for 12 years. Can you imagine being thrown into jail in 12 years? Now this is not jails here in America that you have internet and you can make a degree. It was like a dungeon. And the story says that after 12 years he was removed out of jail and he was made the second to the king. Now, really what took him out of jail? God. God made a miracle and took him out of jail. We can't take the credit out of what really happened. But if you want to look at it according to nature, what took him out of jail? Something had to be dressed into nature. What took him out of jail, that 12 years after he was in jail for 10 years, then he met two individuals, which was the minister of bakery and the minister of the beverages, that they were jailed. And 2 years later, because he solved their dreams, 2 years later, when Paro had a dream, they said, there's this Jewish boy in jail, get him out, he knows how to solve dreams. So really what took him out of jail? The fact that he solved the dreams to these two people. If you want to look at it in nature, what was the cause that took him out of jail? Now when Yosef was in jail, he was the ruler of the jail. He was like the head. So really he didn't have to give the time of day to any one of the inmates. But it says that in the morning when these two individuals woke up, and they had a sour face because they had this scary dream, he comes and tells them, what's bothering you today? Now again, he's the head of the jail. He doesn't need to look at the inmates and care about them. And the Torah says, what is wrong with you today? Meaning that I notice you every day, and today your face is down. So they tell him, we had a dream and blah, 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 and he solved their dream. 2 years later, that was his ticket out. Again, according to nature. I'm not saying that don't take in consideration the miracle of God. And what do you learn from that is something very, very basic. That the fact that he was looking to a stranger and caring about that stranger's feelings and asking him, what's wrong with you today? That's what was his salvation. And how many times a day somebody comes to you and tells you a problem? Listen, I have financial problems. Listen, I have problems here. And you turn your head around. You don't want to. Sometimes you see this number on your caller ID. Oh, her again. Somebody knocks on your door. Shh, shh. We're not home. No. Shh. They came to take money. Hashem sends me every day a few people who seem to come to annoy me. And really that's my salvation. And if I will turn to another person, and it's really not convenient, but to see, why are you so sad today? What's wrong with you today? Probably the secret, the solution to my problem is going to be there. And I now have a beautiful example that not too long ago, my back was very bad. I don't know how you say it here. My back went on me, off me. How do you say it here? Out of me. And then my back went out. The bottom line, I could not walk. Okay? I literally could not walk. I was walking bended like down. I made like these mini steps. I had such pain in my back that it was so painful. I could barely, you know, when you have a lot of pain, you have no patience for nothing. And for 2 days, I can barely walk. And my secretary tells me, listen, there's a couple that came here to Israel and they're emailing and they're calling and they want to meet you. And I tell her, I can't meet anyone. And no, they're bothering, they're calling and they're persistent and they want to meet you. And they came from America. And it was very easy to say, listen, I can barely walk. It was a big challenge to go out of my way to say, okay, fine, I'll meet them. And I'm sitting there in pain. Anyways, they asked their questions. I gave them my answers. And on the way up, I'm about to get up and I can't get up. And I tell them, please apologize. I'm very sorry. I have a lot of back pains. I can't get up even to walk you out. And the lady tells me, I'm a chiropractor. Lay down. Let me look what's going on here. And I told, okay, just call your husband. Anyways, I lie on the bed like that. 5 minutes later, I'm walking out of the room. I'm like, oh my God. I walk home. I tell my, look, I can walk. I mean, I had a little bit of pain. I was like, this is not it. She pulled my leg, pulled my head like this, you know, all sorts of. And I'm like, are you sure you know what you're doing? But I walked out of the room. And I was like, look at this. I could easily say, I'm not meeting anybody, I'm in pain, I don't want to talk to anybody. You know, when you're in pain, if you've ever been in excruciating pain, you don't have patience for nothing. And I was like, no, Hashem sent them to me. They need to hear my answer for whatever reason. I must be the channel, through me will come the answer. Okay, it was not easy to get out of my bed, barely walking, sitting like this in excruciating pain, but she was my solution. She got me, I would probably be in bed for another 2 weeks. So it goes to show you that sometimes the little things are the most powerful things. And this is where Hashem says, hello, you're looking in the wrong direction. You focused on something completely wrong. Yesterday we had an interesting lecture about how to get rich. You know, people like to know how to get rich. Ooh, I'm going to get some secrets here. And I was talking about how sometimes people run after their livelihood or after their parnasa, and they're running to the complete wrong direction. And I quoted a story about a very special tzaddik, his name is Levi Yitzchak from Bardichov, that he once sees his student running like a crazy person. He says, where are you running? He's like, oh, I gotta run to work, I have my parnasa. And he tells him, you're running the wrong direction, your parnasa is over there. So sometimes in life we run to the wrong direction and we focus on something that is totally irrelevant, and we don't understand that my focus right now has to be here. And it might seem like something so minor and small, but Hashem says, where are you going? I need you to concentrate on this right now. And again, you don't need a 2-foot long beard and a big black yarmulke and a hat and the whole, you don't need that. I mean, not saying that it's bad, I'm wearing that. But that's not what it's about. It's not the quantity, it's the quality. It's how much love, how much effort, what do I put? And this is what is dissected by the analogy of the Kadosh Baruch Hu. We don't impress the Kadosh Baruch Hu with things that we think that we're impressing Him. What I want to take from that is that when I go out tonight, then I have to understand that in every encounter that I have, there's a mitzvah there. Hashem put me in this world to be nice to my wife and to be courteous to my neighbor and to treat my kids the right way and to respect any other person. It doesn't matter who they are and where they came from and how they're dressed and what they affiliate themselves with. It's another human being. He has emotions and feelings and a history. So what if he's not dressed like me? Who cares? Or he doesn't think exactly how I think. Every second I can be focused on something positive and I can be focused on something negative. And a lot of the positive things are these rituals that says in the Torah. Not taking from their greatness for 1 second. Lehefech. They are amazing and I have to do it. And even if I do a little bit of it. I have a friend that I finally, after years, convinced him to put tefillin on every day. And one time, every time I would call him, I would tell him, how are you? Good, how are you? Did you put tefillin on today? Yeah. I would have to call him like a babysitter to make sure he put the tefillin on. One time I call him and I tell him, did you put tefillin on today? He tells me, today I didn't put tefillin on. I said, why? He's like, I don't want to become fanatic. If I'm going to put tefillin on every day, I'm going to be fanatic like you. I said, what is that? So what if you put every day tefillin on? That's the mitzvah. That's how you do it. It has nothing to do with fanatic. That's not going to cause you to be fanatic. That's how you do the mitzvah. And in his mind, he was like, no. So we understand things in one way. It has nothing to do with what we understand. We have to try to tap into the chain of thought of the master of the universe and to understand that he's looking for those little things, these little efforts, these little mitzvot. And you know, they say from you take one drop and put another drop and another drop, eventually it will become a big puddle. And my little acts have a lot of meaning and a lot of weight. So what I want to apply in my life is to understand that every second, everything that I do, I can do it the best way, and I can do it because I have to do it. And when the Torah tells me, in all your paths, you should know God. Because every second I have an ability to get connected to the Master of the Universe. Just by sometimes just saying something small. Just putting a little bit more effort and love into the act that I already do, I'm getting connected to the Master of the Universe. Because I told you, Hashem, they cannot stand fakeness. Hashem likes honesty. He's called Emet. And his Torah is Emet. It's all about being honest. And Hashem says, don't lie to me. I know you. You know, just the other day, I told one of my kids, did you pray today? No, I don't feel like it. So I said, okay, sometimes I appreciate your honesty, that you say I don't feel like it. But sometimes you do things that we don't feel like doing. Still pray. And she answered, but I don't feel like it. I'm not praying with the right intention, and I don't feel that I'm doing that. I said, I understand. Just the fact that you said I don't feel like it, that's it. You got the check, because you're honest. And you said I don't feel like it. But sometimes in life we do things because we don't feel like doing it, but we still do it. I also don't feel like going to do certain things. People wake up in the morning, they don't feel like going to work. They still go to work. But at least you got the check because you were honest and said, I don't feel like doing it. So we want to run after the truth and be honest with ourselves and to understand that every little act that I do is huge in the eyes of Hashem. And I have to look at the good things that I do, not the bad things. It's very easy to focus on a lot of bad. And the society, and more than that, my Yetzer Hara was only going to point the bad. I can live in a certain society, they're going to tell me, yeah, you don't do this, you don't do that, you don't do this. Very few people come and say, but you did this amazing thing. And it's very, very easy to point out the bad things. To point the good things, it's very, very hard. I hear it a lot from couples when they fight. A lot of couples come to us for Shlom Bayit, and I only hear the arguments. She did this, he did that, he did this, he did that. And I hear all the time, he doesn't give me a compliment. Yeah, but you do this, you do. Yeah, she does 90% bad, but she does 10% good. Give her a good compliment. We do a lot of good. We just have to empower and to magnify the good that we do, because there's a rule in nature that it says a little bit of light diminishes a lot of darkness. So a little bit of good things that I do, they diminish a lot of darkness. And that's what I want to take. Thank you so much. Is to understand that the little that I do is huge, and that a lot that I think that I do bad is okay. It's not that. And again, I'm not minimizing anything. I'm just saying the perspective has to be that my efforts are huge. And I have to take that with me. And to understand, because it's very easy to fall into this despair, whether it's a spiritual despair, an emotional despair, by saying my efforts are worthless. How many mothers wake up in the morning and they do the sandwich and it's like, neither one of the kids ever said thank you. For 5 years, for 10 years, I'm making jelly sandwiches. Nobody once told me their sandwich is tasty. But little does she know that they eat the sandwiches like, wow, the best sandwich ever. She just never got a thank you. And how many times we see situations like this, that we think something and it's a completely different. So we sometimes think that my act has no meaning, but it actually has a lot of meaning. And somebody is benefiting from something that I did. And it's not about, like I told you with the Mishloach Manot, it's not about what I get back. It's just I have to put it out. I have to put the best out of me out, because everything has a meaning to it. Every good thing that I do has weight to it. Of course, needless to say that I want to take into consideration that I want to add as much as good as possible, because the more good that I do, the better I become, the more I refine myself. B'ezrat Hashem, I want to take from tonight is to give myself a few taps on my shoulder and say, I am actually pretty good. I'm actually not too bad. But the same way that I want to hear it is to at least you say it to people in your life. It's very good to get a tap on your, oh, you did an amazing job. Thank you so much. You know, I told somebody the other day, he told me, my boss is so mean, he's this, he's that. All he could say is just complains about his boss. Told him, how many years do you work there? He told me 10 years. I said, how many times did you walk into your boss and tell him thank you? He says, I have to thank him? I said, yes, he gives you a paycheck every week. He can kick you out of the door. How many times did you go and thank your boss? For giving you a paycheck, for accepting your behavior. He could fire you. There's more people like you. Did you ever walk into your boss and say thank you when he gave you the check? Did you ever tell your boss thank you for tolerating my behavior and for me having a job here? So I expect a lot, but I'm not willing to give. So I want to hear a lot from different directions how good I am, so I can hear that when I actually go. So yeah, you tell your wife a good word, thank you, the dinner is amazing, even though it's all burnt, you still say it's nice, it was good, thank you, Baruch Hashem. You do the same thing with your employees, with your kids, and I mean, we think that everything is obvious. Very few people tell their kids, you did an amazing job, I see your effort, thank you for helping here. People think that the parents think that the kids owe them something. So what I want to get, I also have to give. And if I want to get this assurance from above that what I'm doing has a lot of weight, then I told you, ma dama lemala mimach. I do something here. If I'm going to go now and appreciate a lot of people, what they do, and thank people, by default, I will understand and will be appreciated, and I will value, and I will get the message that what the little that I do is actually very valuable. Because when I understand that what I do is valuable, then I want to do more of it. And that's where it boils down to understand that everything that I do is valuable. And of course, I mean, I can't ignore the fact that if I do a lot of bad things, I can't say to myself, oh no, I'm doing a little bit of good. That's not the point. The point is to the little that the good that I do, little or a lot, is to understand that everything has a huge effect. And I always like finishing my personal story, the lecture, with one sentence, but it applies especially to this lecture. That everything you do in this world, it echoes in eternity. You do a little bit of good here, it will echo good in eternity. And that's what I want to know, that even something that is little and seems irrelevant is huge and has a lot of weight. B'ezrat Hashem, Hashem should bless you, that you'll be very successful in everything that you do. You should be blessed with a beautiful month. The month of Adar is the month of laughter. That takes us after that to the month of redemption. I'll take the time, the opportunity to wish you a happy Purim. It's a very special holiday where I can relive the story of Purim and go out of my own exile and experience this unbelievable miracles that took them to Eretz Yisrael, to take us to Eretz Yisrael. With the coming of the Mashiach very soon, B'ezrat Hashem, we should all meet in Eretz Yisrael very soon. Thank you so much.